Hi, everybody. I just want to welcome you to RootMama's first web chat. This is for our blog, Rooting for Mom. And I'm here with one of our bloggers and natural childbirth advocates and women's health, public health expert, Miss LaJay. Welcome.
Hi, how is everyone?
I'm hoping that everybody's good. I know I'm good. Sis, you've done a couple blogs on Rooting for Mom, one on postpartum and one on initiating breastfeeding for your child. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Your baby he's not a baby anymore. He's getting to be a big guy. He's 4. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about your family.
Okay, well, my name is LaJay Rain, and I'm a single mom of 1, Noah, who is 4. I graduated from Spelman College, which is a school in Atlanta, all-women's college, and I studied women's studies, coincidentally. And I was able to pick a focus, which is women's health, because that really resonated with me after having my child. I enjoy reading, kind of a nerd, and writing. But I really like researching topics regarding women and women's health, especially during the period of pregnancy, and also fertility as well. I have a website called blissfulvitalitywellness.com, and I sell products such as slings and postpartum corsets and nursing covers and things of that nature.
Well, I want to do a whole nother blog, another web chat with you specifically on your products, because there's a lot of women who just don't know about the baby carriers or the slings that you have available in your store, Blissful Vitality. So I want to include a link for Blissful Vitality here on this web chat, and then I want to do another interview just with you about the products, and maybe we could even do some demonstrations to kind of show the women how to use the products, because it's really it's an old concept, it's ancient, but it's new to a lot of the sisters now. So we are not going to name any names, but I know where you gave birth. And we don't have to mention the name of the hospital, but just to let our viewers and listeners know, this is a hospital that is notoriously badly known for not being that breastfeeding friendly. They are not a mother baby friendly hospital, and they have a reputation for separating baby and mom for long periods of time, for not supporting breastfeeding, and for other different tactics. But you really surprised me when I learned that you were able to give birth in that hospital and still be able to room in with your baby and to breastfeed your baby exclusively. And I was just really intrigued as to how you were able to overcome that, even given the circumstances of your environment. So please tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the most important part of me being able to, get what I want out of my birthing experience was having a birth plan. And that was something that I had learned about in a few books that I read during pregnancy about pregnancy, and they really made a big point about having a birth plan. So I was like, okay, well, I'm kind of a control freak. Why not? Made a birth plan, and I stuck to it. So when I went to my last few appointments, I told my doctor my concerns about having a C-section. I told her my concerns about on the way I wanted him delivered. For instance, I was like, absolutely don't want forceps for anything. I was like, please, can we find something another way? And I just talked with my doctor a lot. And so once I got into the room and I actually had him, they tried to take him to the table and.
Well, let's back up before you even get there. When did you create your birth plan?
I created my birth plan kind of late. I would say it was in my 7th month.
That's not late, but go ahead.
Okay. And I made sure that his father had a copy, that my mother had a copy, because they would both be in the room with me. Mm-hmm. I did not have a doula. And I made sure that the nurse and the doctor also had one. Mm-hmm. The nurse did kind of take my birth plan and kind of put it to the side, well,
Okay, I'm sorry. I think I lost audio for a moment because of a little pop up there. But you were saying that one of the nurses had put your birth plan sort of to the side.
She kind of put it to the side. But I think what kind of let her know I was serious is I asked like a lot of like questions. Mm-hmm. I was asking her like how many C-sections do most women get here, and how I really was intent on giving birth vaginally. And so she was like, okay, I think she may have thought, okay, maybe she knows a little bit more than the average mom. And I think she took me maybe a little bit more seriously and knew that she couldn't force me into doing something that I didn't want to do. But I had a really good nurse also. Like she communicated with me. She wasn't nonchalant when we did talk. So that kind of played a role too. I had an understanding nurse who would actually converse with me about the different stages that I was going through, during
Did your labor start on its own? Did your labor start on its own?
Yes, it started on its own. I was at home. And then I stayed home for a while. I sat in the tub, read a book, and then I got up and put on my clothes and, told my mom I needed her to take me. And so I kind of labored. I waited until I had got to 5 to 6 minutes apart, and then I left home.
Okay,
that was the hospital.
Awesome. Okay, so you were able to push in a position that you wanted to?
I did envision myself sitting, but I did not have like a birthing chair. But I did make them like sit. I was pretty much sitting. By the time they hiked my bed up, I was pretty much sitting up. I was reclined a little bit, but I was mostly sitting up. So for the most part, yes. The only thing I didn't like about my birthing experience was not being able to get up and walk around, because they had like water coming to me through the IV, and they did give me Pitocin, so that also made me kind of mad because they were just like, you need it. I really didn't feel like I did. And so that kind of led into me getting the epidural for the pain. Because the pain hiked up so much once they put the Pitocin in. Right. So, but I was 8 centimeters when I got the epidural. So I labored most of the way, but it just got kind of intense for me. And so, then like I said, I got the epidural. But for the most part, I was using breathing techniques for the pain. But like I said, once the Pitocin kicked in, I was like, no more natural birth for me. So that was one. I think that was the main thing that really kind of turned me off hospital birth, was them telling me that I needed to accelerate my labor, even though I knew that I was going at a normal rate.
And for a lot of our mothers who don't know, there's a concept that is very popular in hospital. It's called active management of labor. And so this is where there's a set of protocols and timing that you really have to adhere to. And of course, every woman is deviating. Some women, 45 minutes, boom, the baby's here. Some women, it's normal for a first-time mom. It's, to labor for up to 24 hours. That's totally normal. But if you are not progressing in the active management protocol, they have to do an intervention on you to speed up the process. And that may not necessarily be based on your health, but based on timing that's out of your control. So, right. So that's interesting that you kind of brought that topic up, because that's something that a lot of women face in the hospitals, because once Pitocin starts, there's a myriad of other medical interventions that you're going to need to manage that Pitocin. And even managing a woman on Pitocin, you're upped into a more high-risk type of situation, because, you just don't know how you're going to react to it. And for women who don't know what that is, it's Pitocin is a brand name of an artificial oxytocin. And oxytocin is a hormone that your body makes that allows for you to deliver the baby. So it's an artificial form of that is given to speed up contractions, make them more intense, and make them come more frequently. So fast forward, Noah is here. How was that process for you? Did he go immediately to your chest?
This is where I kind of took over. I think maybe my maternal instinct kicked in or something. They did try to take him, first he didn't cry initially, so they were like hitting him, and then his father kind of came over and was like, let me do it. He hit him, he started to cry, then they were like, let's go vaccinate him, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, let him come to the breast, because he needs to be on the breast within 5 minutes. And they were like, oh, okay. And they did what I asked. I think that was the biggest, what I took from the whole birth experience in the hospital was, you need to know your stuff, because if you don't, they're going to tell you what you need to be doing. So I do think that me reading a lot about pregnancy and looking at different testimonials of women who gave birth in a hospital and being informed is what allowed me to be like more assertive with the nurses and the doctor about what I wanted.
What would you tell a woman who didn't know if she would have enough time or confidence to go into the hospital room so prepared like that?
I would tell her to definitely look into having her birth support person to speak up for her to tell them her concerns and have them tell her, whether it be a spouse or a mother, a family member, or like a doula, just to let them know, this is what I want, this is what I want. You know, I'm not really comfortable talking to them, but I need you to make sure that this, and this goes to plan. Because it did kind of make me a little bit nervous, but beforehand, but after I had him, I had like no shame. I was like, give him to me, he needs to go on the breast now. And then as far as them taking him in and out of the room as well, I was very adamant with them about that.
About being sure to bring him back? About him
being in the room, and if they were going to take him to notify me, because they took him one time and didn't tell me while I was asleep. And I was very angry about that.
Yes, I can imagine. Was it at night?
No, it was during the day. We were napping.
And you were napping, and you woke up and he was gone.
I woke up and Noah was gone. And there was also a situation where I did tell them that I did want him circumcised. Well, they took him to, I think, do some, run some charts run some tests or something on him. And when they were notified me of that, I said, okay. When he got back, his pediatrician came in, oh, well, we circumcised him. And I'm like, you wouldn't tell me? Because I remember my mother and my stepfather I remember them leaving the hospital room and coming back for the purpose of my brother's circumcision. So I was confused why I wasn't notified of my own child. So that made me very angry. And that was
that a procedure that you requested?
They asked me if I wanted him circumcised, and I did tell them yes. But I thought that they would let me know, we're taking him out to be circumcised. That wasn't happening. And then his doctor, his pediatrician who I did stay with, and she was the one who actually her and a nurse brought him back. And that's when they notified me, well, we also circumcised him while we had him out. And I'm like really?
Nonchalant, like, by the way.
Very nonchalant. And then she was very, she told me that she had given him sugar water. And that's when I had to be very firm with her. And I had to kind of, I had to just really tell her how I felt. I told her, I didn't know what the nurses had told her. I know that there's not always an integration of care with the nurses being my nurses and her being his pediatrician. But I was like, as a pediatrician, and I told her, I said, you're Ivy League trained. I looked you up. I really thought that you would have had enough compassion and enough common sense, enough professionalism,
absolutely,
to know and to ask me or to know that, is this mom breastfeeding? Maybe I should figure out what kind of pain management she wants me to do before I circumcise her child.
Absolutely,
none of that happened. And that's also why I've decided, should any more children come forth, there will be no hospital. And that was really the turning point for me when they circumcised him without just my...
and the sugar water.
Without my... by my knowledge, and then also with the sugar water.
That's a huge violation. And I mean, I just think it's so important to really like break down this whole experience, because you went into this hospital more informed than the average woman, and more confident than the average woman, more militant and assertive, and very sort of committed to your process. And even you had things happen to you that should not have happened. And I have been in other hospitals in the same metropolitan area where the nursery was informed that the mother was exclusively breastfeeding. All of the nurses knew on the postpartum floor, labor and delivery floor. It was reiterated over and over and over again. Yet and still, they still gave the baby formula. So it's just, it's really, it's a real challenge. And I'm working on a blog now to kind of, actually there's a bunch of resources on the Facebook page right now. There's a bunch of tips on how you can avoid some of these things, and one of which is to have a baby watcher. You want to have somebody that goes with your baby every single time they go to the nursery and watches them. And every single time that baby leaves the room, the baby watcher goes with the baby. What procedure's happening? What are you doing? How long are you taking his vitals? What are you feeding him? He needs to be back to his mom now. Are you finished? Because sometimes the babies are just sitting there. They're not even being attended to. And if they're just laying there in that crib alone, that's time that they could be with their mother. So the baby watcher can be the one who is constantly trying to move things along so the baby isn't, having things done that are against the parent's wishes, or just that the parents aren't aware of. Like, you were fine with the procedure, but it would have been nice for you to have known when. Did you tell them when you wanted the procedure?
No.
Because a lot of people like to wait until the initial bonding has happened before they get a procedure such as a circumcision, because it does put the baby in pain. So yeah.
Yes, no, that wasn't discussed at all. Now that I remember, I actually had another problem. My aunt she had come to visit, see the baby. She comes in the room, and she's just like, yeah, I saw the nurse, and she told me that he's breathing weird. And I'm just like, whoa, why are you knowing about something before me? I'm his mom. Like, I thought there was a HIPAA law. Like, what is going on? Why is she giving me information about my child? What if you're really not my aunt? You're just some crazy lady at the hospital, and you're getting information about my kid seriously. Right. And so I'm like, that made me angry too. Yeah. And then I'm highly hormonal because I just gave birth. So I called the nurse, and I had some choice words for her. What's going on with my son? What is wrong with his breathing? And he does have asthma now, and maybe that was the beginning of that then. I'm not sure. He came home within regular time within 3 days. He went home with me, so it wasn't anything major, but still, I'm a new mom. What do you mean he's not breathing normally? I have someone else telling me not a nurse. So that upset me as well. The whole dynamic of things happening and me not knowing. I was like, okay, I'm not ever doing this ever again. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and I've talked to hospital staff who say that they're concerned about mothers because, I mean, hospitals are now having to really compete. The space has opened up with birth centers, other hospitals becoming more birth center-like. The hospitals are having to now compete to get the mothers to choose them. And a lot of the things that mothers like you are wanting is just to be listened to and to be heard and to be respected. And a lot of times that doesn't even cost any additional money from them. It just costs them time. Slow down. Just slow down and spend a little bit more time, and it will really just make all the difference for the moms. I mean, who knows how many babies the doctor delivered that day, but for you, this is your first and only child thus far. To speak a little bit about your experience with lactation there in the hospital and why they decided to keep you for 3 days.
Well, that's just their standard. Their 3 days is what they told me. As far as lactation, like I said before, they tried to give him, a couple of shots. I was like, no, put him to my breast first. And he did. He latched on immediately. And he fed for about maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And he came off, eyes open, looking around, all that good stuff. And that's when they took him to do vaccinations and vitals and all of those medical things that they do. And then when he came back to me, I was transported to the postpartum room, and they brought him back in, and I was having a little bit issue getting him to latching in. So I told the nurse, and the first nurse who came in, she wasn't my nurse, but she was very impatient. She's very, very impatient. And she was like, just put him on there. Just, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you just breathe with me? Can you tell me what I'm not doing wrong? Is it the hold? Different things. She just acted very frustrated. And, actually my mother stepped in at this point, who's also a very big breastfeeding advocate. And she was like, do you guys have like a lactation specialist on staff? Because you have an attitude. Lady said, actually we do. With the attitude, but she left. But she brought back the actual, board certified lactation consultant, and she was great. And I might have had 1 or 2 issues when I got home, but my hungry child was able to figure it out. I was able to figure it out. But she was the one who got me, okay, this is how you latch. This is how you need to hold him. Might be TMI for some people, where you have flat nipples. You have to do it like this. So when she talked to me that way, I said, okay. She was really good at educating me on what I was doing, how long he needed to feed, what to look for in his diaper to make sure he was eating correctly. So she was excellent. Like she got an A+ in my book. That was probably the most positive experience that I had there, was working with her.
Well, that's awesome. A lot of people have different feelings about the lactation support at different hospitals, so it's great that you had a good experience with that. Did they send you home with formula?
They did send me home with formula. They did. They sent me home with formula, and it was a very long time before I used it. I had a little bit of an issue with my breast milk decreasing in flow. So I utilized it for a few days until I was able to get it back the way I wanted it. So what did you do? When did you experience the supply issue? He was about 4 months, and he had just had a spurt, so I thought the milk would have increased. But I was also doing a lot. I had a job, and then I was taking classes at a local college. So I was doing a little bit more than I probably should have been doing. And I called the Leche League, and I talked to a breast support woman, and I remember her telling me that it's probably maybe the cortisol, the stress level, making the milk decrease. But she told me to use fenugreek tea, and to eat steel cut oatmeal, and to just keep hydrated. And once I did that, she said, of course, to keep nursing as much as possible. If I did that, I was back in business about 2 days, 2 to 3 days. And at that point, I was like, I really need to. Oh, yeah, I was pumping at that time. I was pumping. I started pumping probably earlier than I should have. I started pumping in about a month because I had to go back to work when he was 6 weeks. So, yeah, I started pumping to help so his dad could help me and my mom, and as well as I knew he would be at daycare. So. Okay. So do you think that, or do you remember before you had that supply issue, were you still pumping on your regular schedule, or had your schedule been interrupted? My schedule was pretty normal because I was going to my car, or sometimes the bathroom, which is gross, to pump while I was at work. But I did have a few issues because I had a boss who kind of was like, you're gone too long when you pump. Like, I know you're in there, and I've seen you, but like, you're just taking too long. You need to hurry up.
Oh my gosh.
I need things.
That's a whole other conversation, sis.
Yeah.
Let's have a whole other conversation about that, because there's so many women that I talk to who, even throughout their pregnancy, they're having a hard time taking the breaks necessary for them to be healthy. I'm not going to I don't know. I might be bold enough to start naming some of these employers' names. I mean, whatever, and start blasting them out, because it's just ridiculous that we're not supporting our mothers, and it is the law. But there's so many loopholes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually working at a pharmacy of all places at that time, and the lady that I worked with, she was very she just wasn't. I think she wanted me to hurry up and put those pills in those bottles. She didn't really have time. I was taking, you're gone for 20 minutes. I don't have time for you to be doing that.
That's normal.
But about a year later, she had a baby, and then she was gone for hours at the time, breast pumping. So.
Yeah, it came back. So maybe if she's still working in that position, she will have more compassion for women who need to provide for their children. So, okay, LaJay, any other tips or insights you'd like to share with mothers who are looking to deliver in a hospital setting and they want to room in with their babies and bond with their babies and breastfeed?
I think the points are pretty good. Definitely the baby watching idea is really good. I had actually never thought about that. That's a great idea. Because I've walked past there several times and just seen all the babies just in there hanging out, and they could be with their mothers. But I think having a baby watcher is great, being informed, and if you are unable to, stick up for yourself, having someone there to do that. I think those are probably the most important things, because if you don't take an active role, they will try to sway things the way they want them done at the time they want them done, and then you're just at their mercy, and anything could happen, whether it be an unnecessary C-section or they don't have time to help you help your baby latch on. Just keep asking for help, because I could have gotten frustrated with that nurse.
Absolutely.
But my mother telling her, "We'll get someone else in here if you don't want to do it."
Yeah.
That made all the difference, because I was able to get someone that was her whole job, was to help me breastfeed, and she did a great job. So
awesome. Those are some excellent tips. And can you just tell us again what the name of your website is?
My website is www.blissfulvitalitywellness.com.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to our very first web chat. I hope this has been helpful and informative to you. RootMama does provide doula services and consultations over the phone and in person. So if you need assistance with creating your birth plan, if you'd like to have someone accompany you to the hospital and advocate for you and help you be comfortable and implement your birth plan, we provide those services, as well as postpartum services in your home. If you'd like to make more milk, we have Lacto Mommy Got Milk, lactation tea, as well as other products to help you be a successful mommy. So thank you so much for tuning in. Be blessed.